I recently read The Power of Regret by Daniel Pink. If someone tells you they don't have regrets, they either have brain damage or they're lying to themselves. Anyone older than 6 who has not damaged their orbital frontal cortex experiences regret. Now, we might not like the feeling of regret and try to ignore it, but regret is universal. This fact is actually liberating. Rather than letting regret consume our thoughts, impede our actions, and destroy our happiness, we can acknowledge that everyone makes stupid mistakes they regret. Knowing that regret is part of the shared human experience allows us to normalize and neutralize the shameful feeling of regret. Now, once we normalize and contain the emotion of regret, we can use regret to craft a redemption story. According to psychologists, we forge our identities based on the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. There are 2 primary stories we tell ourselves: contamination stories and redemption stories. Contamination stories go from good to bad. Everything was going well and then everything fell apart. Redemption stories go from bad to good. Something horrible happened, but then after some hard work, it got much better. People who reflect on contamination narratives are less happy and less accomplished in their careers. People who replay redemption narratives are happier, more accomplished, and find more meaning in their life. Regrets are the perfect starting point for a new redemption story. If you regret smoking and not taking care of your health when you were young, you now have an opportunity to redeem yourself by transforming your health and becoming someone who runs marathons. If you regret not taking college seriously and getting poor grades, you can craft a redemption story by taking on more responsibility in your job, moving up the ranks, and one day getting invited back to your college to give a guest lecture. Taking redemptive action by performing a generous act to outweigh a selfish act, a thoughtful act to outweigh a careless act, or hard work to offset prior laziness can be a character-defining moment. But many regrets are like tattoos. You can work to remove them, but a mark will always remain. Having leftover regret, even after redemptive action, is not a bad thing. In fact, you can use regret residue as motivation to anticipate future regret and build a life you're proud of. One morning in 1888, Alfred Nobel flipped through his local newspaper and stumbled upon a story about his death. Alfred's brother, Ludwig, had recently died, but a journalist mistakenly thought Alfred died. The mistake might have been amusing to Alfred, if the obituary wasn't so grim. Alfred Nobel was an ingenious chemist who invented dynamite and advanced mining methods several decades, but his premature obituary focused solely on his invention of military explosives. The journalist dubbed Nobel the Merchant of Death and explained that Dr. Alfred Nobel became rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before. Horrified, Alfred set out to change his story. 8 years later, at the time of his actual death, he donated 94% of his wealth, which is worth about $500 million today, to award scientists for making major achievements in their fields. Now his revised obituary praised Nobel for being a great philanthropist and a champion of science. Nobel was lucky enough to get a glimpse of his future and change what he'd later regret. We can experience the same luck by anticipating what we might regret. Imagine you're in one of those time travel movies and you receive a mysterious email dated 7 days in the future, listing all the things that you regret doing in the past 7 days. This email is broken into 4 categories, because as author Dan Pink has found in his World Regret Survey, in which he gathered 16,000 regrets from people in 105 countries, all human regrets fall into 4 categories: foundation regrets, boldness regrets, moral regrets, and connection regrets. Foundation regrets sound like, if only I'd done the work. We experience foundation regret when our health deteriorates, our financial situation makes life hard, or our professional life is not as rewarding as we believed it would be. A few foundational examples include, if only I drank less and had a disciplined diet, I wouldn't have so many health problems today. If only I'd been more disciplined with my spending and investing, I'd have more to show for my hard work over the years. And if only I'd worked hard in my 20s, I wouldn't be in this dead-end job today. Boldness regrets sound like, if only I'd taken that risk. We experience boldness regrets when we play it too safe and are left wondering what could have been. Examples include, If only I'd asked that girl out. If only I'd taken that trip before I had kids. And if only I'd started that business. Author Daniel Pink says, if foundation regrets arise from the failure to plan ahead, work hard, follow through, and build a stable platform for life, boldness regrets arise from the failure to take full advantage of that platform, to use it as a springboard into a richer life. Moral regrets sound like, if only I'd done the right thing. A moral regret stems from a lapse in judgment that haunts us as we age. For example, I wish I hadn't bullied that kid in school. Or I wish I hadn't cheated in a competition. Or I wish I'd been faithful to my wife. Connection regrets sound like, if only I'd reached out. We experience connection regret when we let great relationships drift and wait too long to reconnect and repair relationships. Common connection regrets include, if only I'd reached out to my friend before she died of cancer. If only I'd been nicer to my mom when I was younger. And if only I'd apologized to my son and mended our relationship sooner. Connection regrets are the most common regret, because when we get to the end of life, relationships matter most. As the lead researcher in the longest running examination of human flourishing said, happiness is love, full stop. Now that you know the 4 universal regrets, try to anticipate how your future self, living 7 days in the future, might complete the following sentences. In the category of foundation regrets, I wish I'd taken care of my health this week by, I wish I'd advanced my career this week by, and I wish I'd increased my savings this week by. In the area of boldness regrets, I wish I'd tried, I wish I'd started, and I wish I'd asked. In the area of moral regrets, complete the sentences, I wish I'd remained loyal to, I wish I'd been kinder to, I wish I'd stood up for. And in the area of connection regrets, I wish I'd reached out to, and I wish I'd forgiven. Set up a recurring email to yourself every Sunday or Monday morning with this regret template, and ponder how you might complete each sentence as if you just had a really bad week. Anticipating weekly regrets allows you to create a better week than you otherwise would have, much like Alfred Nobel created a better life after receiving a premature obituary. Focusing on weekly regrets allows you to focus on and prevent small regrets before they turn into big regrets like divorce, bankruptcy, or diabetes. Author Daniel Pink discovered that 2/3 of all the regrets in the World Regret Survey were regrets of inaction. Projects not started, people not contacted, words not said. This makes sense because if you do something stupid, you get to see the outcome and take redemptive action to reduce the regret over time. But when you don't act, you're left wondering what could have been. As a 43-year-old Canadian male told Pink in his World Regret Survey, I regret inaction, not asking the girl out, not starting the business sooner, not applying to speak at the conference, more than any mistake I've ever made. That was the core message that I gathered from The Power of Regret by Daniel Pink. This book takes an often neglected emotion and makes it highly productive. I highly recommend this book. If you would like a 1-page PDF summary of insights that I gathered from this book, just click the link below and I'll be happy to email it to you. If you already subscribe to the free Productivity Game email newsletter, this PDF is sitting in your inbox. If you like this video, please share it. And as always, thanks for watching and have yourself a productive week.